So coming into this chapter, the battle between All Might and All for One is continuing, with All Might using his armored All Might suit that has multiple abilities and functions, all based off of his Class 1A students. And as he's trying to avoid All for One's attacks, going through buildings and whatnot, All Might thinks to himself, and he says that if his body rewinds faster, the more damage he takes, then I should use that quirk. And obviously we're going to find out at the end of the chapter what he's talking about here, but I originally thought that he was talking about another student's quirk, either Izuku's or Bakugo's. And I know that he's already kind of used Izuku before with Black Whip and Shoot Style, but it still makes me think that he kind of has to use One for All in some way, right? I think that would be kind of fitting, unless he just avoids that, but he's definitely going to use Bakugo's as well. And he might save that for last if it's not Izuku's pseudo One for All or whatever he's going to do. But Bakugo's quirk is kind of worrying because, you know, it's explosion, and he's already kind of used this gauntlet fire blast thing called Shoto. He uses it in this chapter actually, but also considering what's going on with Bakugo right now as to where he's like half dead, half alive. And we also saw All Might's vestige ghost thing react to him in the previous chapter, and we saw that react with Bakugo, so maybe that's how this sequence ends. The final quirk he uses is Bakugo's explosion quirk, and yeah, I don't want to say that this is going to end like Vegeta with the final explosion, but man, it all could connect here. But also going into what he was saying about All for One, we found out that yeah, the more damage he takes, the faster he rewinds, and the more effort he uses, you know, using quirks and putting more strain on himself by using more powers and abilities, that also rewinds him faster. And he's been rewinding, of course, because of the quirk Serum Vial. I don't really think you see what he does, but Yujiko was able to reverse engineer Eri's quirk and gave All for One like a one-time use thing that rewound his body because it was so heavily damaged from his fight with All Might 7 years ago. But there's like no regulator to it, so he's rewinding into nothingness. And right now he's like a teenager, I guess. It's not really made clear, but he's coming dangerously close to, you know, rewinding to nothingness, considering he started at like over 100 years old. But All Might says that the problem is the energy source. And then he summons these two bird robots called Anima, of course in reference to Kota. And as All Might's running away, trying to avoid All for One just catches up with him between these two buildings. And he says, it's like, I know that you're trying to pretty much exhaust me and make me use more power and effort so that I'll rewind faster. And he's like, no, I'll just kill you with minimal effort. And we see him activate his blade quirk. I think Rukasu said it was called Tendrils quirk or something. I don't know if this is ever identified. Maybe it is in the Ultra Analysis 2 book, but I think someone else has called it like Cyberpunk blades or something. And he hits All Might with these things. And as All Might's able to escape it with like a jet propulsion thing or whatever, All for One is able to counter him with like these giant mouths. It looks like 90s graffiti art almost. And I'm not sure what he's doing here. It looks like he's making them out of the cyberpunk tendril things, but how would he be able to do that unless he's just like going all out full artist mode and just crafting them through the tendrils? And it's like, it seems like a lot of effort, but apparently it's not, because he says that they're nothing, you know, in reference to what he just said previously about how he'll kill him with minimal effort. Apparently these giant mouth things are minimal effort to him, and as he tries to like eat All Might with these things, you know, obviously it doesn't work out, and All Might's still evading them by going through multiple buildings and whatnot. All for One is like roasting All Might for using the support items in the suit that he's using, especially based off of his students' abilities. And he's kind of chasing down All Might like a horror movie villain at this point. And he says, your light is far gone. And he just smashes All Might like in the stomach again. Of course, I'm sure this is in reference to where he damaged him 7 years ago. And it cuts to All Might, I guess, like in his mind, like in that black blizzardy space where he was covering the ember of One for All before in their previous fight in season 3. But now there's no light there. And of course, this is a reference to what All for One was saying, your light is far gone. And light means multiple things here, but the main meaning is the One for All quirk, of course, because when he passed it off to Izuku, he only had quote unquote embers of it left. That's how they were both able to be powerful at the same time. There were some lingering bits of One for All and All Might's quirk factor, I guess. And after he used the United States of Smash and All For One, it was just completely gone. But then All Might somehow counters All For One and sticks the Shoto flamethrower cannon piece in All For One's mouth. And All Might says, oh, you don't get it. People are flickering beings. Even if my light goes out, someone else will take it and keep shining. Of course, in reference to his students here. But real quick, guys, GamerSupps has a new waifu cups launch. And this week, it's Pillow Talk. You can get this super aesthetic design on a waifu cup or on a t-shirt. Also, be sure to check out these 3 great flavors of GamerSupps: Blowhole Blast, Red Raspberry, and Jujutsu Kaisen's Cursed Energy. You can check out the link in the description. And also, guys, make sure you use code BIGZ. That way you'll get 10% off your purchase. Thanks, guys. Not just Izuku taking up the mantle of One for All, but all of the students in Class 1A, which is All Might righting his wrongs as well, because he became too good at what he does. He always wanted to be the symbol of peace so people didn't have to worry, and he did. But he became so powerful and so good that they became reliant on him. Like there was no one else that could have picked up after he was gone. But now that he's fostered Class 1A, they also got lucky that they were so unbelievably powerful and so far ahead of everyone else, even the top 10 heroes. Now they are able to continuing the shining that All Might set forth. And we're finally coming back to Aoyama going against Kunita. This fight was set up, I don't even remember, so long ago. Kunita, the Tartarus escapee. And it appears that Kunita has some kind of like plant quirk. I don't think it's being fully explained in this chapter or even given a name, but Kunita says that his seeds can only grow from human flesh. So I guess he needs to like implant some kind of special seed that he can produce in you, and then it makes like this litany of plants. And after that, it's pretty standard like plant user stuff in battle manga. But we're also finding out that this is happening 300 meters from UA, I guess, or where the original battle started. And all 32 heroes that were supposed to be taking care of the remaining villains have been defeated, I guess, except for Aoyama, including even Fat Gum here. Fat Gum is being drained by these plants, so much so that he can't even use his quirk, the fat absorption, and he's gone back to thin mode. I don't know if this is like Fat Gum's final moment in the series, him giving the rub to Aoyama, I guess, and that's fine. Fat Gum did have his moment in season 4. But Kunita takes Aoyama's laser belt thing, and we're seeing like what happens when Aoyama doesn't have his belt on. Like his laser quirk seeps out of his belly button. And I've always thought that this was like supposed to be like Cyclops from the X-Men. I think that's what Horikoshi was kind of inspired by here. Like if Cyclops doesn't have his visor on, his laser eye quirk just goes out of control. Obviously it's not as extreme as that, but similar. And we also found out that this wasn't always Aoyama's quirk. Like he was born quirkless, and they were essentially coerced by All For One into giving little Aoyama this naval laser quirk from All For One. But since his body wasn't compatible with it, it's all messed up the way that it is, and it's just been a burden to Aoyama. And that also caused them to be subservient to All For One since they were indebted to him, which also caused them to be informants to him and also traitors, which Kunita calls Aoyama, which is like hilarious because it's not only because he's a traitor to the heroes, but he's also like a traitor to the villains as well because he ultimately told them everything. But that fires up Aoyama, and he's like, hey, calling me a traitor reminded me of my sins and made me even more determined to cling to their lights. Got more light talk in this chapter, of course. And he's like, I want to shine even brighter than before. And he starts just firing off lasers, but since he doesn't have the belt to like concentrate it, he can't direct it where he wants it to go. So he's just blasting like these ultra powerful laser salvos, but they're just unable to hit Kunita. Then out of nowhere, Hagakure shows up and she redirects the light at Kunita, and they just do like this sandwich blast to him. So Hagakure is able to do this because her quirk that makes her invisible is able to bend and reflect light. Like that's the principle that makes her invisible in the first place. Just like Sue Storm from the Fantastic Four. So she's able to reflect Aoyama's light back at Kunita here. And also in the sequence, we're seeing her face. And I know that we've seen her face fully for at least a year and a half now. I think she appeared on the cover of a chapter or something. But I think like within the actual manga itself, this is the clearest purest we've ever seen her face, and it's fitting since, you know, this is the end. But yeah, this is what she looks like in case you weren't aware. And I guess this is defeating Kunita. I was unsure of it in the spoilers, but looking at it now, I guess this is him being defeated. Like, it's just being wrapped up in this chapter, which is fine. It didn't really need much longer than this, I guess. But we come back to All Might at the end of the chapter, and he once again says that he doesn't plan on losing to All for One, which makes me think that he might legitimately defeat him here. But he's been in the sky with the assistance from those birds, the anima robots that he called for, and he finally has charged up his attack enough, and he hits All for One with his can't stop twinkling ultimate super laser thing. It just fires down from the sky into the city and just roasts up All for One here. I mean, I don't think he's being defeated by this, of course, but this might lead us to the end of the battle here, because this is massive. And it goes back to All Might's plan in the beginning, of course, where he said, you know, if his body rewinds faster, the more damage he takes, and I should use that quirk. That quirk, now we're finding out, is his Aoyama inspiration quirk, where he's just firing a massive laser at All for One. He even has like a power cord running like a block away into him. And I assume that this is really going to damage him for sure. And we might see like child All for One in the next chapter, like 5-year-old All for One. That would be crazy. But let me know what you thought about this chapter in the comments, guys. And if you liked it, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.